What's going on, you guys? Dallas Cowboy football news. I'm here on the Let's Catch Up episode number 2 with the one and only SpaceCowboy17. Space Cowboy, how you been, brother? It's been a long time since we got together and talked live. So just catch me up, man. How you been right now?
Yeah, Mike, it's been going really damn well. I know it's hard to say that, especially with what's been going on, with the pandemic and stuff like that. But, just graduated college, just got a first full-time job, just, life things, basic stuff, nothing crazy. And just trying to make sure, also not getting sick as well, making sure they wear the mask and everything. But otherwise, things have been going great.
Yeah, this COVID stuff, it came so fast, and just boom, instantly. My wife, I got to give her credit. She's been following it since November. She's like, this COVID stuff's crazy. They're trying to hide it, over there in China and stuff. She's a big conspiracy theorist too, but she didn't have the 5G stuff in her head like everybody else did. But no, so that's good that you're healthy, and it came fast, dude. And I mean, it hit a lot of people hard.
Oh yeah, I think, and we'll talk about this later. Considering the degree I actually was looking into the situation, and I was actually when I was looking at how it was going about, how the governments of more specifically China and how this kind of came about. It was I won't be shocked if this thing hits hard, but and that's more of the whatchamacallit, the medical side of things. But when it comes to the political side of things, it's been crazy what's been going on, considering the response to what's been going on, which we'll talk about what I've been studying and stuff like that I know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it hit. Well, for me, I didn't expect it to go this bad, but I was I wouldn't be shocked if we got a couple, a bit of it, because it's a second strand of SARS. I'm not sure if you remember that back then.
Yeah, what is that? The early 2000s or something?
Yeah, it was. This one is. I don't think it's as deadly as that original SARS, but it's way more contagious. That I recall. But
gotcha.
Yeah, so.
Gotcha. But no, I mean, we used to talk a lot. I remember you asked me, "Hey, I'm doing a roundtable. Would you mind coming?" And I know you're getting a bunch of panels together. Fifth Quarter Cowboys, my Cowboys family, and it was you. And we got this roundtable down. We did it for a whole year, and then life happened with you, whatever. But I don't know if you talked to anybody about this. I know I haven't had a chance to talk to you about it. But what happened with the roundtable? Why wasn't there a second season with you and us?
Okay, so I want people to understand this emphatically. This wasn't me being an asshole. It wasn't me being I didn't do it because I was I disagree. No, it was because at that time I was still in college. I had a job where I was a supervisor, so I was very damn busy. And so when I would come, on Saturday, it's I'm either exhausted, didn't do enough research so that I know what the hell I'm talking about. And I think many people and I figured a lot of people were what the hell's going on? And I want people to understand it had nothing to do with something personal. It was just, listen, life happens. I just had to take care, because I'm a firm believer and you got to take care of yourself before you start taking care of others. That doesn't mean me being selfish. It's just I had to take care of me first before I could do anything else. So, it was just life, man. Nothing crazy.
Nothing crazy. I'm glad to hear that. But you were the host of it for the first season, and then when you left, and it was who's going to be the host here? And so I took it on, and I don't know how I've done it. I got some feedback from the crew, as we call it, but it was different. I've never hosted anything before, but I actually learned from you on how to host that thing. So I appreciate you.
Thank you. No, thank you so much for that. I mean, at the end of the day, it's it's not like it was a whatchamacallit, it wasn't I was doing it and it was I didn't like doing it. I love doing it. My problem was where it's well, I kind of value getting a degree over the YouTube thing, and that's not me insulting, the people on the roundtable at all. It's
right.
it's just like, hey man, I got to do me first, because I had a hell of a fun time talking with DJ, with you, with my Cowboys family, and 1980. It was really damn fun, because what I liked about it was it. As much as it's like cool to like talk to people and like just hear what they have to say, what made it very special was we all had different opinions on certain topics, right? So it was like, okay, so I hear it from this angle. So how should I, go about researching it to see, just learn about this specific point? Like, and I know like there would be moments where we'd get heated, and I think a lot of people enjoyed that, because it was like, but people want to hear different opinions, and they want to try and listen and just understand, because that's what I think made it interesting. It's not like we're talking into a vacuum where everyone thinks the same way, which I don't have an issue with. Like, if me and you agree on something, we're going to agree. Like I can't control that. But when it comes to like the disagreement, it helps each other, it helps people out, because it's like, then you research the topic and it's like either it changes your mind, or it's like, oh no, okay, so that's what it says.
Yeah. And I don't know if a lot of people know this. I don't know if we're going to have a season 3 or not. I know we did one episode to kick off season 3, but I still consider that season 2. So I don't know what's going to happen with season 3 of the Roundtable. But just to give you a little gem of what happens behind the scenes, when it starts getting boring and we're all agreeing with each other, I'll be the one to just ramp up and say something stupid, to get engagement going, to get debates going. So 99.9% of it isn't script. Because we just, boom, here's the topics, go live, what's your thoughts? But usually if I'm antagonizing somebody, it's because the stream's getting too damn boring.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people didn't realize that, because I remember like people in the comments would be like, what the hell is DCFN talking about? And I'm like, he's just doing it just to spark debate, and it really it was just for fun, like, and it's not like scripted. Like, no one came in like you can't script that. Like you can't like you can't script someone like playing devil's advocate, and like I can't do it. Like
I can't do it. Now thoughts blur in here, and I'm like, okay, well, what about this? And then boom, I'll say it, and I'll just piss everybody off in the comment section, just flying 100 miles an hour.
What the fuck?
It's great content, and I didn't mind, taking on that kind of role to spark. And DJ would do it on purpose too,
Oh yeah.
Yeah, DJ would definitely do it on purpose too. But no. So and I don't blame you for pursuing a political degree. I don't blame you at all. YouTube's for me is a hobby. I don't put on donations. I don't put on ads. I don't even ask people to subscribe. I just say, hey, like it, share it, whatever. But I've always been that way. I've been on the platform for 7 years. I'm content where I am. It's a hobby. I got a real job outside these walls, but no, and that takes no offense to anybody that, because YouTube's serious. Donations are serious. People can make money. I've seen a channel make $1,000 in one day in donations. It's crazy. So, but the political science degree, let's talk about that if you don't mind, Space. And
sure, go ahead.
What is a political science degree, first of all?
Well, to make it as simple as it put, it's basically just like any other degree. It's just a specialization in a certain field. But cutting out the smartassness aside, when it comes to political science degree, it's more so the study of government, and rather government theory on. And what I mean by that is like understanding how governments evolved over time, understanding how governments work today, understanding how different government regimes go about. Also, it's a bit of sociology as well, because you understand how people think. And I actually had this on a community post, celebrating me graduating. I do have a minor in psychology, which kind of helped that part of it in that sociology part, because politics is about understanding how government works, number one, and understanding how people view government and how like things go about that. I also have 2 specializations when it comes to race, gender, and class relations. So that's part of sociology as well, and also public policy. So it's a lot of writing and reading, and it's a lot of data and fact checking. And and it's funny because I knew I was getting a degree in political science well before I got into college. It just happened that things got worse on the political scene, if that's how you view it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's how I view it. Like, it's been getting worse. And it's like, I've always told people, not to go down this road, but look, my personal opinions come from me doing research. Because I've had discussions with people. I've had, debates, if you want to call them that. I really just try to call it discussions because I want to, try to educate people. That's my biggest thing. And, many people think, like, I come to my viewpoints, because you went to college and you have this sort of bias. It's like, no, if you do research, you'll find the answer. And that goes with any school. I mean, if you're going to school for law and justice, mathematics, you got to do research and stuff like that to understand things. And I think that's something that people don't realize nowadays,
Yeah. The new semester is about to start up online. And any advice to anybody that is thinking about maybe changing a career, their degree, or anything, like any advice you want to give anybody listening that's stuck between this degree or that degree, shoot for it.
Yeah. So my last semester, we switched to online. So it wasn't really a true online semester. But I will tell you this, a couple pointers from my experience in college is don't be afraid to commute. You'll save, depending on where you're going to school, you'll probably save between $30,000 to $50,000 on expenses there. So there's that. Another key point is don't be afraid to do the online classes. And this is coming from someone that is not a big fan of online classes, but it's open book. A lot of people don't realize that. You can actually go onto the exams and do open book. So if you're looking for, they're not easy. I'm not saying they're easy, but they are easier in some elements because you can access the material as you're taking tests. So that's that's something to keep in mind. Another thing is when it comes to like knowing what you want to do, I always tell this to freshmen, do general ed classes first and just experiment because you're going to end up needing electives to get the full college credits. So what you should do is take your general ed courses first and maybe take a couple, like, okay, if I want to do government, I'll take a couple of government classes. If I want to do, I don't know, something like law and justice or I don't know, just something. It could be anything. Just take a couple electives. And if it's something you like, then run with it because either way, you're going to need to take a certain amount of classes. I mean, from what I, did at my school, you needed to have a certain amount of classes that you had to take in order to reach a certain, it had nothing to do with credits. It had to do with what classes you took. So again, I don't know what other schools do, but my recommendation is don't be afraid to do the general ed classes first. Because trust me, it's better to do that now than before. So, and then also for future, like if you're trying to do master's or doctorate or whatever, don't be afraid to take a year off because sometimes getting experience in the field first helps before you pursue, that degree and whatever the case may be. So,
yeah, I tried the college thing but school wasn't even for me. I'm gonna be honest, and my dad, he's a big advocate for school and stuff. So when I only took college for a year, and I said, nah, this ain't for me. And I don't know if a lot of people know this or not, but I'm deaf in my left ear. And so my initial plan was supposed to go to the Army. My grandpa was in the Navy. My dad was a Marine for many, many years. And I was like, I'm going to go to the Army. And they didn't take me because of my left eardrum. So I was like, crap. And I didn't want to go to college. I wanted to go to the Army. And so I tried the college thing for a year. It just didn't work out for me. You talked about online classes. It was the textbook, the audio, and the lecture, all three of them, same class, all three of them never lined up to me. Oh, yeah. I was like, where is she reading this at? The audio. I'm like, it just wasn't for me. I went in debt for like $7,000, and I passed, but that 7,000 could have turned into about 20K pretty quick if I kept going.
Yeah. But what's crazy is I graduated with a bachelor's with luckily with only $15,000 in debt, and that had to do with me commuting. That had to deal with me being in the opportunity I was in to get some scholarships and stuff like that. And I'm not going to sit here and tell people college is easy, because that's a load of crap. It's not easy.
It's not.
I'm not going to sugarcoat it, because also a lot of people tend to be privileged. Like, there are people I know that got full rides to college and completely sucked at college. And there are people that I know work their ass off and are tons of money in debt that earn that degree. And that's why I'm not mad, or like I wouldn't be jealous if people flaunted their masters or whatever, because you know how hard it is to get that. Like, yeah. So
no, it's pretty hard, but no, I kind of betted on myself, and they could easily replace me with somebody with a degree, what I do, but I'm pretty fortunate where I'm at, and I bet on myself, and it worked. I do area manager work. I'm over people and trucks. And sometimes both of them are stubborn, but no, you brought up COVID a little bit. Excuse me. You brought up COVID a little bit, and let's touch on COVID in the NFL season. You're the research guy. I mean, you'll throw stuff where probably no one's ever even thought. So I want to pick your brain on this space. Will there be an NFL season? Can players adapt to N95 mask if they have to wear that? What's the testing going to be like 3 times a day or 3 times a week for players? I mean, let me pick your brain here. The COVID and the National Football League, what you got for me?
Well, will there be a season? I don't know. I'm going under the assumption there won't be a season. Now, people might say, "Oh, Space, why are you being a pessimist?" Well, here's the thing, right? We just saw what's going on with the NBA. The NBA currently is trying to restart the league at the end of July, I believe. And the problem is that we just saw the Denver Nuggets, what's his name? Nikola Jokic, the Joker. He just tested positive for COVID. I believe he's asymptomatic as well. And we don't know how. I don't know how he got it. No one knows how people have been getting it, because it's hard to really judge where people get it, because based off of the research, you can get it from skin contact, where it could be on the skin for a handful of hours. You can catch it on metal surfaces. There are many ways to catch COVID. And the problem is if you have to go through this massive operation just to do the season, odds are you really shouldn't do the season, because there could be situations where players could contract the illness, even when in isolation, depending on where they're traveling to, and they could still get COVID. I mean, for God's sake, people were talking about Zeke getting COVID, and people were thinking, oh, it's because of that party he had with Dak. But from his mom and from what he's been saying, apparently he came in contact with someone 3 days ago and had no knowledge that the person had COVID until just recently.
Yeah.
So the problem is you don't know. Like I don't know. I could have it. I know I don't have it. But there was moments where I had like a health scare because I would show exact symptoms of it, and I was like, oh damn, like I can't afford to get sick. And it's not because it goes away. It's because it can linger in your system. Yeah. It can linger in your system. And the one thing I don't want to do is give it to my family, and many people don't want that to happen. And I wouldn't be shocked if the NBA doesn't return. And what I hate the most is the people that are like, oh, we need sports. I'm like, no, human life is number one. And the fact of the matter is, and people don't think about this, is that COVID is a respiratory infection type of virus. And if Zeke has, Zeke has it, obviously, but he's asymptomatic now. But if he ends up getting sick because of it, and it impacts his lungs, which that's what the disease does, it can really permanently damage your lungs, there could be a possibility where he could retire early because of it. And that's why I'm afraid that any player gets sick, especially if it's someone that's doing a lot of of the running back position. You're handling a workload, wide receivers, you're running all over the damn field every single time, every single position. So we just saw Travis Frederick, not for the same reason, but he retired because of illness. Again, not COVID, but there are people that can catch a certain illness. Like you can retire, like anybody can retire at any given time. You don't know.
That's true. Yeah, you brought up a good point, but let me ask you this. I heard that plasma donations can help. So like, let's say I got the COVID-19, I survived it, and my antibodies are all built up, and I can donate those antibodies through plasma to give to somebody who's doing bad. And research is showing that it's helping them recover faster.
Mhm.
So could NFL players donate plasma to other players or to help speed things up? Or what's your thoughts on that?
It really depends because every single person has a different reaction to whether it be plasma, blood transfer, etc. People have different reactions for different things. Like again, like for the most part, they're successful, and research has shown that there are some medicines that have been proven to help people with severe cases of COVID, but that might not help one person, but that might help another person. As for players, it could work, but then again, I don't know how the person's physique is and how their body would react to it. But I'm all for, if research comes out and they start saying this, this, and this, which there has been things coming out, like you mentioned with the plasma, and I forget the name of the drug, but there was a drug that was being tested overseas, and like I mentioned, it's been helping people with severe cases of COVID. I forget the name of it, but it's been helping with that. And I mean, what was it? Von Miller had COVID, and he talked about how it like completely drained him. So I don't know. I mean, and then again, I don't know how in a mask it's going to really help you when you're on a football field, because it's I don't like. The thing is like when I wear a mask, for me, it doesn't bother me because guess what? I'm just walking and doing nothing. But if I try running, like I had a little side job at Lowe's. I was an overnight worker, doing picking stuff up and heavy stuff. And when you're doing that with a mask on, you know how hard that is, and that's just a regular day job. We're not talking about you running, lifting weights, because that's another thing. You got to keep your distance too, right? What if someone? I don't know. I really don't know. I don't know to me, if you have to go through leaps and bounds to start a season, you might as well just not do it.
Yeah. What I'm watching is the Major League Baseball. What are they doing? I know they postponed some spring training and stuff, but if baseball can play, it's a good thing for football
Oh,
season.
Yeah.
But they're projecting $3 million revenue loss. That could impact next year's salary cap. And how's that going to play out? I mean, money's already on the books for these guys. Cowboys went on an extension spree. So there's a lot that plays into this more than playing or not playing.
Oh, yeah, most definitely. I think at the end of the day, and this is why I'm paying attention to the other sporting markets, how things go with them is going to really impact football, because 9 times out of 10, like we just saw with when the NBA canceled their season, or rather suspended their season, I should say, you saw all the other leagues follow suit. Mm-hmm. Now, luckily with football, it's in the fall season, but at the same time, and based off of information, because the cases are still rising, even at a gradual pace, even into the summer months. Now, there are some states that have shown, like New Jersey, for example, where I live, where the numbers have come down because of regulation. You're seeing states like Florida and Texas, which are reopening way too early, and you're seeing the hospitals starting to get flooded. You're starting to see spikes in cases. And the one thing that's worrying is, if you don't know, Florida is now the new breeding ground for the disease now, because there's been a huge spike in cases there. And guess what? The NBA is reopening in Orlando, out of all places, where COVID is running rampant there. And I think that if the NBA can complete their season without any issues, that's fine. I mean, you're having some players sit out. You might have that happen in the NFL too. I don't know. But it really comes down to the success of the other leagues. If they can get through this season without any issues, I think the NFL will be just fine. But I don't know.
It's crazy, because you could have all your star players go win a game on Sunday. They go out and celebrate because that's what Generation Z and millennials do. And then, boom, they get tested. They're positive. They could be missing. We could have second stringers in the whole game versus somebody else's starters.
Also, we don't know what's going to happen with preseason too. Like they've been talking about reducing the preseason, and the fact of the matter is, and I've had conversations with my friends as well, is they've all felt the same thing. We don't want to see second string or preseason football in the regular season. Not only that, we don't know if there's going to be a second wave, and numbers are showing that there probably will be. And then they're going to, what happens? They're going to cancel the season, or they're going to postpone the season. here's the thing: if they suspend the season, 9 times out of 10 they're going to cancel the season, because football isn't like, basketball or baseball where it's like there's many games which you can afford to miss. With football, you have 16 games, and soon to be 17, and you're going to have 7 playoff spots in each conference. And we all know it's going to happen. Like, even in my wildest dreams, even if the Cowboys were to win the Super Bowl and if they were to cancel some games, people are going to put an asterisk on that championship, which I really don't care. I don't care. A Super Bowl is a Super Bowl. But with that aside, I really do think it comes down to what happens. Like, I don't know. I mean,
yeah, it's going to be crazy. But yeah, you got the right mindset. I got the right mindset watching other leagues on how they do things. But let's kind of shift gears here. And Dak Prescott, he signed his franchise tag, $31.4 million. You think COVID had something to do with this, with
No.
him signing that thing, or do you think that gives momentum to go into July 15th and get a long-term deal done?
I don't think COVID had anything to do with it. Honest to God, what I think his team probably said was what you should do is sign this franchise tag, because now you put the ball back in the court for the Cowboys now, because now they have to do something, because Dak isn't holding out. And I don't think he was going to hold out based off of his his demeanor and stuff like that. I don't think he's that type of guy to do it. But and it's just, he's put the ball back in the Cowboys' court. Because now it's the Cowboys' turn to really hammer this deal out, because Dak's proven, hey, I'm not going to hold out. Just give me my deal. And, we've already, you've had conversations, as have I, about whether or not he should get the money. That's a whole nother conversation. But if we're just talking about this franchise tag right now, he did it because he wants to be there for when training camp starts. He knows that. And it's good PR. Hey, he's showing a good gesture. Hey, I signed the franchise tag. Let's get this deal done. He's got until July 15th, which is just near my birthday. So hopefully he gets that deal done. Because there have been, if I remember, Drew Brees and Kirk Cousins were the only 2 other quarterbacks to get franchise tag and sign it, if I remember. But Drew Brees, this was back in 2012, he got his deal done in July. Kirk Cousins never got his deal done, obviously, with Washington, but that's a whole nother thing. But for me, I think that what will probably happen is one of 2 things. Cowboys will cave in and give him his money before that deadline, probably the week of or during that week, or they're going to give him his money at the end. He's going to get his money either way. It's just a matter of when.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's smart. It's smart work by Dak and his team, because Mike McCarthy's in here, new offense, same terminology. You still got to learn all that jazz. But you've seen the workout videos, so being in shape, I'm not concerned about. But it's just knowing the nuances and the different schematics of this offense. Mm-hmm. And I didn't think he was going to hold out either, because it doesn't benefit him to hold out. Yeah, he might get the money, but how long is he going to be on that bench with that new payday, learning things? And Andy Dalton's out there tearing it up, or maybe sucking, or whatever the case might be. So I had my stance on Dak, but it was a race. It was a marathon that was never ending. Because Cowboy fans, they're split. We have Dak fans, quote unquote Dak haters over here, and I was kind of like walking the line. Like, I want Dak, but not at Patrick Mahomes money. I want Dak, not at Russell Wilson money. You know what I mean? And it was just a marathon trying to tell fans, this is why. It's always but what, but this, but that. And so it was a marathon. I was tired of running, but if they pay Dak, they pay Dak. If they don't, we'll move on. I'm at the star. I don't think Dak has reached his ceiling. But what's scary is I don't know what Dak's ceiling is.
I don't think he's peaked yet, honestly. I don't think he has.
You don't think he has?
No, I don't think he's peaked yet. If we're saying 2019 is his peak, that's pretty damn good. I'm not saying he's perfect, but based off of what I saw in 2019, he looked a hell of a lot more polished as a passer than he looked in previous years.
I'll give you that. Yeah,
and the thing is because people always come at me. They're like, "Oh, Space is he's a Dak fan. He's just a Dak homer. He's not a true Cowboys fan." I'm like, no, listen. The Cowboys have said they want Dak, so I'm gonna ride with Dak because I'm just going with the team saying. And I've talked about this on numerous occasions. He's played on that very damn cheap deal. And reportedly, the Cowboys, the only one that I recall that he declined was the $33 million a year at the end or right before the start of last season. And the thing is Dak did that because he wanted to bet on himself. And that was a bet that paid off because what was it that many people were saying? We want to see Dak throw for at least 30-plus touchdowns. We want to see him throw the ball more. He did that. Mm-hmm. And the stats showed up. Yeah, we went 8-8. But if you look at every single game, right, what was the common issue? I'm not sure how you feel on it now. What's up?
There was a lot of common issues. You had missed field goals, game management issues,
exactly,
coaching issues. I mean, but when I say coaching issues, the only game I can really put on the coaches last year's space was the Vikings game. The coaches seriously dropped the ball on that one. Mm-hmm. You know, you Dak's over there pass happy against everybody, right? And then you run the ball. You're right there. Just pass the ball. You've been dominating this whole time. Mm-hmm. Why would you run it the way you ran it? It made no sense to me. I mean,
and the running game wasn't working that game.
Right. It wasn't at all. None. Zero. Zip. There was nothing. I mean, Zeke fell flat on his face. The offense fell flat on his face. And kudos to the Vikings, too. You know, sometimes we talk about all the bad, but we don't talk about the good things the Vikings did. It's not easy to stop that offensive line, and they did it.
Here's the problem, right? The biggest problem I have with people that have been trying to make a case against Dak getting his money is the fact if you look at every single situation, you know, right? There was a situation where people were saying like, oh, well, you know, the Cowboys are always having to catch up. I'm like, is that Dak's fault that the defense gave up 14 points to Minnesota to start off the game? And that's my problem is like, if you're asking your quarterback every single damn game to pull you out of – because I vividly remember the same conversations that people had with Tony Romo. I understand that was back then, but this is important to understand what's going on now. Tony Romo was a damn good passer in the last years of his career. I would say through 2011 through 2014, he was a more efficient passer than he was when he started his career. He wasn't turning the ball over as much, minus the 2011 season, because that 2011 season, he wasn't that good. But the fact of the matter was, every single game, it's the same issues we dealt with under Jason Garrett. You had the decision-making. Why are we not running the ball in certain situations when it is working? Or why are we not passing the ball as much when we should be? And I understand that people were pissed at, like, oh my God, the Packers game when he threw 3 interceptions. If you go back and watch that game, the fact is the first interception he has comes off of Amari Cooper's hands. I'm trying to remember. The second interception, I think I don't remember, but I know one was when he threw it to Michael Gallup, and like that was pass interference the whole way. And people were talking about, oh, why did he throw the ball? Now, again, you shouldn't be making a throw like that, especially if the ref's not going to call it. But I was kind of pissed because the refs were terrible in that game. But the point I'm trying to get at is that perfect? No. But if you look at the context, you know, he's everything we've asked for. And I know you've been hard on him. I know that.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just like, I don't have an issue if you're asking for a high-end production from a quarterback, you're going to pay high-end money. But, you know, we've had the conversations, like, look at Carson Wentz and Jared Goff. You think they deserve their money when they got it?
Oh, no.
No. And I just want consistency with people because people are like, well, Wentz is a top 5 quarterback. I'm like, no, he's not. You're telling – because you get paid for what you did on your previous contract or what your services you provided, right? That's how it works in the real world. That's how it works in the NFL. You mean to tell me that you paid Carson Wentz $33 million to play one season, well, at that time, one season fully healthy, and that one season he had was a winning season. The other seasons he started below 500, or he had a below 500 record at some point. Jared Goff, he had 1 good year, or rather 2 good years under Sean McVay, and she shows that he's a product of how that environment is. That's many quarterbacks.
Right.
I just, for me, the one thing I don't like is like when people say, because I hear this a lot, or like, oh, we should just cut Dak, ride with Andy Dalton, and bring Cam. I'm like, no, you don't do that, because at the end of the day, Have you seen what the Cowboys have tried to do outside of Dak? Remember when we tried to get Paxton Lynch and Connor Cook? Where are they at right now?
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. So that, like, and I looked back. I had to do my own research. There's only a handful of quarterbacks that I would probably have taken in certain drafts. In hindsight, now looking at it,
Yeah.
But not over Dak, no. But odds are you need the first overall pick. And I hate it when people are saying, "Well, go after Trevor Lawrence next year." Well, let's say you make the playoffs, right? And you end up going and you get to the NFC Championship game and you have like the 30th overall pick or whatever the case may be. I don't know. You mean to tell me, and this would not work, you cannot jump from 30 to 1 with just the first round pick in next year. You would need a hell of a ton of draft capital to justify someone trading that far down.
No, you're right. You're right. But, when people talk about, just cutting Dak, go with Andy Dalton, they don't understand how locker rooms work.
Exactly.
You ask anybody in the Cowboys organization, they'll say Dak's a baller, Dak's a winner. Even when people left, Randall Cobb, Cole Beasley, Alan Hearns, they like where Dak puts the ball. They like his turn on it. So if you just get rid of Dak, bring Andy Dalton in and start him, it's really going to mess up the culture in your locker room.
Exactly.
And I don't think a lot of people understand that.
Yeah, and like a big thing is I see this a lot from people too that are trying to get on that. And I'm not saying he's perfect, but my problem is when people get on Dak for some inexplicable reason, which for most part I haven't done research on, it doesn't make any sense. But like, for example, like when we had the conversation with like, we got to get rid of Garrett. I mean, we've had those conversations on the roundtables. We had this conversation even before we even did the roundtables. We've always talked about Garrett having horrible play calling and a horrible coaching staff surrounding him because he couldn't put things together. And people think that's on Jerry. I'm like, no, because at the end of the day, yeah, sure, could Jerry be controlling in some instances? Back then, yeah. But you look at what Garrett has done. Garrett, he didn't deserve being past the season. I would say, 2017 was just a prime example of it. We went from scoring 27 points to scoring just 17 points a game. That's a 10-point swing. And even when Zeke came back, you were only scoring 18 points a game.
Yeah.
Right? And it's like the thing, and getting to my main point here, is that the people that say Dak sucks, and they say that Garrett sucks as a head coach, you're defeating your own argument, because if you keep saying that Dak sucks, you're basically defending Jason Garrett and saying, well, if we had a better quarterback, we wouldn't have to worry about that. But at the same time, we saw this with Romo too. We're like, what the hell is this play calling? And it's just, that's what I don't understand with people, is like people don't factor in the coaching staff. And considering the fact that Dak had 4 years of him, had 2 10-plus winning seasons, or rather the team did. But the point I'm trying to get at is people want to throw wins out. Like, Dak's 13-17 against winning teams. There are only, 3 quarterbacks in the entire league that have a winning record against winning teams. That's Brady, Wilson, and Roethlisberger. No one else comes close to them with a winning record. The rest look just Dak-ish. Aaron Rodgers has a losing record versus winning teams. A ton of quarterbacks have records versus losing teams,
I think that's a great point. But, I'm not as hard on Dak anymore. Doing the Frisco report with Joe and stuff, he's a big Dak fan. And, he's kind of opened my eyes a little bit. You, Law Nation, Vach, a lot of these guys, not really Mark Holmes, because it's kind of hard to follow him, and he posts like 15 videos a day. But no, it opened my eyes a little bit. But because I respect them. I respect what they do. They put in the quality work. They don't just throw spaghetti noodles on a wall, hope they're cooked and they stick. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
So, but no, Space. You got anything? Got any questions or anything?
That was pretty much the main topic of conversation, was just talking about Dak, because I know how you've been hard on him, and I don't know how your opinion has changed over time. But I know, like, because I figured, like, for me, it's like there are people that, like, I get it. Like, sometimes you have high expectations of someone. I get it. It's like, hey, if you want to get paid the best, you should play as the best. Mm-hmm. And Dak has that mentality. That's what I like about him. He has that intangible of, like, that drive. I want to be the best at my damn position, and that's something that means a hell of a lot more than anything else, in my opinion. Because at the end of the day, if you don't have that drive to be the best you could be, that money is worthless, even if he has a really damn high floor, right?
Yeah.
And look, it's not me just coming up with stuff to like get a viewpoint across. It's just, no, this is what the numbers say. Every single year, Dak has proven us wrong, right? It was, Dak can't do well with, what was it? Remember in 2018, we were 3-5 at one point. People were like, Dak sucks. We need to move on from him. He hasn't proven anything. You give him a number one receiver, because that was the biggest complaint, remember? Like, we talked, like on the roundtables we talked about with Dez. Like, I took a hard position on Dez. I was like, and I stood by it. I was like, Dez is washed, dude. I'm sorry. He is.
Yeah, I mean, you were the only ones like that, saying that, yeah.
And the only thing, and the thing is that when I took that position, people hated me for it. I was like, I was willing to give Dez a second chance. That's the only thing I was convinced on. But otherwise, I felt like he wasn't worth the money, and you cut him. Now, maybe I was a bit naive in thinking that the Cowboys could do well, maybe do just good enough with the people they had, but they couldn't. Deontay Thompson, Allen Hurns, Cole Beasley, are you kidding me? And Terrence Williams, I think, was still there at that point. Yeah, I think. I don't remember.
Tavon Austin. Yeah.
Tavon Austin. Really? And then you bring in Amari Cooper. What happens? We go 7-1.
Yeah,
right?
it was a big change. But I think, because I used to be a big Dak fan, right? And week 3, 2018 against the Seattle Seahawks?
Oh, I remember this vividly. I know.
Yeah, that like that game right there I was like, why am I defending this, right? And then I don't know if you do a lot of all coach 22 films or not, but if you go back and watch week 16 against the Philadelphia Eagles last year, it was a 3rd and 3 in the first quarter. I can't give you the exact timestamp.
Oh, I was there at the game. I know what you're talking about.
The Randall Cobb real route, and he hit Amari Cooper in the flat, threw it to his shoelace, and Randall Cobb was like this. I mean, no one around him, and Dak had the perfect opportunity, and Dak was looking that way, and he comes over here, throws a dead duck to Amari Cooper on a 3rd and 3.
Yeah.
Huge miss.
Oh, no, and look, I was pissed. I was like, Dak, what are you doing? But at the end of the day, like, I get it. People make mistakes. I make mistakes. You make mistakes.
Oh,
and
yeah.
the fact is yeah, like people always try to amplify the negative aspects of things, right? And again, Dak was not the most polished passer when he first came in, right?
Right.
And his rookie year, he was out playing Aaron Rodgers in a playoff game, right? Mm-hmm. And it's like, I don't know what to say. It's like, I feel like Dak had justified his pay, because what was it? You mentioned how, like, you wanted to put up more stats, rather than the wins. And he did. And this is what kind of bothers me. I'm not a guy that's about big numbers. I just want us to win damn games. I don't care if Dak throws 10 touchdowns a season. If we're winning 16 games a season, if we win all the games, I don't care how much he throws. Because a quarterback does more. Like, he has to make sure his team gets in the end zone. Bill Parcells said, in his QB 10 Commandments, which I follow dearly, and I used to kind of gauge quarterbacks. Your job is to get your team into the red zone. Doesn't matter if you throw a touchdown. It doesn't matter if you run it in yourself or a running back or whoever the hell's done. I don't care. Get in there. And yeah, there were moments where Dak makes mistakes. There have been times where he's made like in the Miami game. I remember he threw an interception. I'm like, Dak, what are you doing? Right? And I'm like, he's not perfect, but he proved to me that, he can. Remember what happened? He was getting talks about MVP when we were 6-4, and then we all know what happened.
Yeah. Well, the reason why I wanted more stats out of Dak Prescott, if you look at his first 3 years, 23 touchdowns, 22 touchdowns, 22 touchdowns, and you look at the passing league that the NFL is in now. Mm-hmm. You can't really. I mean, you look at 2014 when Dez didn't catch it with Tony Romo, right? Tony Dez has 16 touchdowns. Terrence Williams had 8. I think Jason Witten had 6 or 8.
Yeah, he had a lot that year. Yeah.
And then DeMarco Murray had 16 touchdowns. People, they talk about the draft pick of CeeDee Lamb, which I admire. I love. I already got his jersey. But they want 40 burgers, right? So if it ain't about points and it's about winning games, why are we going on this bandwagon of 40 points?
Okay, I get what you're saying, and my thing
Yeah.
is like, I think the 40 burger bandwagon, and I'll admit I was on, is that it's because that's our strength, right? What's the strength of the Dallas Cowboys? It's always been our offense. Recently, the defense kind of started, like, especially in 2018, but over the past decade, what has been the Cowboys' forte? Offense, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, like, and again, you need a solid enough defense to get the job done. But for me, I think that, look, if you have a guy in CeeDee Lamb, you got to take him. Like, and that's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I mean,
yeah,
I would have probably oh my God, if we missed on CeeDee Lamb, because for me, I'm for best player available. And that's the thing. I guarantee if Jason Garrett was the head coach right now, we would not have taken CeeDee Lamb. I don't believe so.
I don't think so either. No,
because
we would have got Cleveland on Chase on.
Well, because and the reason I have the ability to justify this is, if you remember, this happened in two previous drafts, in 2019 and 2017. TJ Watt's on the board. I was hoping we would get TJ Watt. He was my pet cat, and I was so damn mad when we passed on him because he went the next pick, and where is he at now? And people are like, oh, well, he doesn't fit our scheme. That's not how it works, man. You have to get a player that's good, and you have to be able to you have to be able to help him out and develop under him. And then what happened in 2019? The safety's on the board, right? We had three safeties of choice on the board. I think it was Rapp, Thornhill, and what's the other guy's name? Adderley. All of them on the board, and they wanted to forego
in the second round. Make sure you remind them.
Oh, yeah, second round. I apologize.
This is in the second round. Yeah,
second round. Okay, the only safety off the board at that time was I think it was Abraham. I think, or I don't know if Savage went off the board as well, but I know that there was one safety or two that went off the board, right? Mm-hmm. And people were like, and they take Tristan Hill. I'm like, are you effing kidding me? Like, and people want to get pissed at us going after Jamal Adams, and oh my God, I don't want to get started on that. I've already,
I like it.
And listen, I'm not trying to go. I don't like seeing people talk Jamal Adams 24/7. I don't care about a guy that's an elite box safety. I'm not saying he's bad. I'm not saying I would get pissed if we got him. My problem is why am I trading a first and third for a guy that I can get in the first? And you saw my video. I'm not going to go over that. Look, the average safety comes off the board on the 27th pick. You can get a safety in the draft if you really wanted it. If we really wanted a safety, we could have probably gotten one.
No,
but
I think you're right. And, a lot of – I don't want to touch on Jamal Adams either, but a lot of people get confused. Like, they want all these star players on teams. There's a salary cap for each team.
Exactly.
To even out competition. That's why free agency is such a big hit, because they like to even out the playing board for all teams. And if you have Dak on a contract, Amari Cooper, Lyle Collins, Jalen Smith, all these guys, you got Leighton Vander Esch coming up here in a few picks. Where are you going to allocate your dollars there? So, you got to keep people got to keep in mind that there's a competition playing level in the National Football League, and what keeps it at a competition level is the salary cap.
Yeah, and people don't realize we haven't paid Dak yet either. So,
yeah.
And another thing is, why is Jamal Adams asking to be traded? If people don't realize, you remember why Earl Thomas was causing that ruckus in Seattle? Because he wanted a new contract. Okay, and we understand what happened last year. And Cowboys Nation has been wanting a safety for the longest time. If you want a safety, go into the draft, and this is what I'm hoping they finally address. Or maybe they have something in Donovan Wilson. I know they got something in Xavier Woods. They might bring him back on a cheap deal if they really wanted to. They might give him an Anthony Brown type of deal, and maybe Donovan Wilson becomes something. But at the end of the day, you look at the Ravens, you look at the Patriots. What do? They get good players in the draft that have solid amount of value. They let them walk a free agency. They get a comp pick, and they use that for another guy. It's how it works. I call them the Madden fans, or the Madden mentality with people, because they think it's a plug and play league. They think that you can take a player like, oh, I'll just trade Michael Gallup first and the third, and I'll still win games. No, that's not how it works. There's continuity, there's chemistry. Not only that, once again, Jamal Adams is asking for $15 million. I see people in my video, they're commenting, they're like, oh, Spacey, he's going to play for a hometown discount for the Cowboys. You don't know that.
You don't.
I don't think he does. I'm not trying to,
His
twist
mouth
his
and
word.
his agent's mouth are two different mouths.
Exactly. You know, remember with Earl Thomas, people were like, "Oh, he'll play on a discount." Oh, Earl Thomas, he wants to come here because he loves Dallas. He played here at Texas. Dude, it's the same damn thing I hear with Jamal Adams. We've already talked about, and I'm not going to try and get into this because I know people on this platform have done 600,000, 235 videos about Jamal Adams and Earl Thomas, and I hate it because it's like, I don't care. Like, at the end of the day, if he comes here, he comes here, but I'm not paying $15 million for an elite box safety. It's the same thing with Byron Jones. I'm not sure how you were with Byron, but for me, I told people this. I did a video on this. Byron is everything you want in a corner minus the playmaking ability to get turnovers. And I've said numerous times there are only a handful of corners that can reach that, like Darrelle Revis or maybe Richard Sherman back in his prime or this, that, and a third. There are only a handful of corners that can do that. If you can't do all of those things, I'm not paying you. And many people try to get me and they're like, "Oh, Space, you say this about that." You can't. It's like comparing apples to oranges. And I know with D-Law too. People talk about D-Law. They're like, "Well, he doesn't get enough sacks." Like, and I had people be like, "Well, why isn't he like Aaron Donald or Khalil Mack?" Because he's not like their play style. Khalil Mack, when he came out of college, he was a 3-4 linebacker. He went to the Pro Bowl and made an all. I think he's like the only player, or like the second player in NFL history, to make an All-Pro, first team All-Pro as a linebacker and a defensive end, right? And then Aaron Donald plays defensive tackle. Like, you can't compare people. You cannot compare DeMarcus Lawrence, who's a 4-3 defensive end, to a 3-4 linebacker or a defensive tackle in a 3-4 or 4-3 scheme. Can't do that.
You just can't. You just can't. And I don't know. The people just lose sight. And I had a thought, and it kind of slipped away here. But yes, you talked about Byron Jones, and we talked about this on the Frisco report. It was, Chris Richard's been exposed lately about how he ran his defense. Byron Jones could go get those interceptions now with Miami, depending on what kind of schematics they use. They weren't taught to turn their head. You know what I mean? They were taught.
And he played the wrong position. He played the wrong position too.
And I think that's why Jordan Lewis didn't get enough playing time, because he went against their laws of science of how to play cornerback. Because when you seen Jordan Lewis go out there, he didn't look like Cheeto Bay. He didn't look like Byron. He looked like a dog out there, and he got turnovers. And I think that's why Jordan Lewis kind of got the back burner of things, because he wasn't buying into their philosophy of play this type of way. Don't get picks. Don't get turnovers. Don't do this. Don't do that. And Jordan Lewis like, dude, I'm from Michigan. There's a dog in me. I'm a Wolverine for a reason.
Exactly.
Let me go out here and do this thing. So I'm excited about Mike McCarthy. I'm excited about this whole new scheme change. I cannot wait to be down 4 points and we don't choke due to coaching.
Oh my God. Yeah, dude. What I love so much was when we picked up Trevon Diggs.
Yes.
He reminds me so damn much of Aqib Talib. If you have a chance to watch him, really damn good corner. Okay. And very feisty too. I don't know about his personality with Trevon Diggs, but if he has that same personality, oh my God, I would love that on my team. I want some dogs on my defense. We
need some swag, man. We need some swag.
And I think that's the thing. Like 2016, that team had swagger, right? 2018, when we started rolling, that team had swagger. We didn't have that last year. Maybe at the beginning, but like we never had that type of swagger. And I think that's what we're missing too, is that culture of we want to go. Listen, we want to beat the shit out of you when it comes out of like that mentality. Like I want to see that, and we didn't see that last year. It was just like, and I think honestly, because I just think the players were sick and tired of Garrett. I think we would have won the NFC East that year if we were motivated to do so, but we didn't have that motivation. You saw it at the end of the year. We didn't care.
No.
But
there's just a lot of distractions. The Hot Boy name trademark, that isn't swag. What do the corners call themselves? The
Purge Squad, right?
The Purge Squad. That's not swag. You want somebody like how Des Bryant was against the Eagles. All up in their faces, yelling, and then dropping 3 touchdowns on them.
Yeah,
that's to me, that's football. I admired Chris Richard from afar because he would get in players' faces before games and cheer people on and cheer people up and stuff. That's football to me. Our saying in high school was coup de grace, till death, and we're gonna do whatever it takes till death. You know what I mean? We're gonna fight you. We're gonna claw. We're gonna scratch. You know, we're gonna do whatever. But when it came to Jason Garrett, the right kind of guys minimized and muted the dogs.
Exactly. And the thing is like for me, look, I wake up on game day. Probably you do the same thing. I'm pumped. I feel like we can knock someone the hell out. I felt that the same. Like I remember that Saints game when freaking DeMarcus Lawrence was talking. I was like, "Yo, this is something we need." Or when whatchamacallit, what was his name? Doug Peterson. Mm-hmm. That game before we punched the Eagles in the mouth.
We're gonna go to Dallas and win.
Oh, I was pissed, dude. I with DeMarcus Lawrence, I'm like, oh man, we're ready. And then we punched him in the mouth to start the game. I'm like, oh damn, this is over.
That was a hell of a game. What 3 turnovers in a matter of 5 minutes?
I believe it was what made it. And I'll share a personal story because this is what really hyped me up. That play when Zeke trucked the hell out of Malcolm Jenkins to score that touchdown, which it should have still been a touchdown. Yo, I got so hyped, man. I was like, oh, this game's over. That's what I want to see. I want to see us knock the hell out of people. I miss that.
But it took somebody talking. You know, remember when Conor McGregor came and they did the little dance thing and all that? Yeah. Before that game, the Cowboys looked like dog shit. It took somebody to say something. It took somebody to show up and pump somebody up.
We need that Michael Irvin guy, right? We need that.
We need that dog that's going to be in the locker room, so you don't be dependent on guys coming in to cheer you up or another coach saying something to cheer you up. There's a dog in everybody, and I hope Mike McCarthy finds it and gets it out and lets him use it and not do the whole right kind of guy. This is inappropriate bullshit.
And then the nonsense of I think it was that documentary on Amazon. I forget the name of it.
Nothing. What is
All
it?
or Nothing.
All or Nothing. Yeah.
And I see Garrett cussing up a storm. I'm like, Jason,
animated.
Stop.
This is not you.
Listen, I know from whether it be family, from my experience of working with people, and even in sports, you'll know if someone's being real or not. Listen, when I would play sports, even when I was a kid, I get pissed. Especially if I wasn't doing well, I get pissed. I'm like, yo, what the hell's with where's the energy, guys? Come on.
Yeah.
And and I didn't play football. I played soccer and baseball, but still that same energy. It's that's what people don't realize. What really makes teams go is that ability to be hey, we need that guy to pump us up. And yeah, sure, Dez was that guy, but the problem is it's hard to back up your talk when you're not doing well. And that's another thing is you can't be talking crap and you're not showing up. D-Law has done not he hasn't shown up, but he's talked the talk and he has walked the walk on sometimes. And that's what I want. Whether it's him, whether it's CeeDee Lamb, if he brings that mentality, I don't know. I just want that because the dynasties had that guy in Michael Irvin. He was, people will say that Emmett was the engine. Michael Irvin was that heart. And I know that Emmett is usually the heart, but Michael Irvin really made that team
pop.
Go. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm not sure if we have any questions from the audience. I don't want to keep going on and on.
But, I don't really see anything here. Just, great content here on the Let's Catch Up episode 2 with SpaceCowboy17.
Mm-hmm.
I got your YouTube channel down here in the scroll box here, but let them know where else they can find you. Talk about two birds and a third if you're still doing that. And
I am.
Where can they find that at?
Okay, so first off, Mike, thank you so much for having me on.
Hey, it's been a pleasure.
Yeah, it was definitely fun. I will probably leave a comment of hey, thanks for because just so people know, they can click on my name and go. But you can follow me at SpaceCowboy17 on YouTube. I do have a Twitter. It's at @space_cowboy_17 on Twitter. On Facebook, I do a podcast with my buddies. I know it's hard to do it now because we don't have sports, but we do usually do a weekly podcast on Wednesdays called Two Birds and a Third. Got 4 guys. Got me as a Cowboys fan, Ravens, Eagles, and a Browns fan. I know it's shocking to hear a Browns fan, but no, we do that. And then I just drop content on YouTube ever so often. I try to entertain and educate. I know I do the highlight videos and I do my regular videos. It's just my mantra, just educate and entertain. So
absolutely.
I see someone. hold up. I see
Go ahead.
someone's asking a question. The Lunatic's asking when will lack of Randy Gregory news start to worry you? It's kind of starting to worry me now, but honestly, if we get to August and he still hasn't been reinstated, I'm gonna be like, I mean, then again, I feel like our defensive line should be fine with the guys we have, but if you're asking me straight up with Randy, I would start worrying when it's August. So
I'm worried now. You know, there was
I am,
that he was reinstated, you know, or filed for reinstatement. And, you know, Alden Smith, the guy who hadn't even played in the league in 4 or 5 years, he's already back, which is great. He's a Cowboy.
Yeah.
That's fantastic, you know. But I don't know. I don't know how the NFL evaluates that process, but it's almost like, where's his mindset? Why isn't the NFL doing this yet? What's going on that no one knows about that's stopping this reinstatement from happening?
I don't know, man. I mean, and another thing is, because he also mentions Gerald McCoy. I love the energy Gerald McCoy brings. I really love him coming into this. Like, yeah, sure, you know, and he's talking about the social injustice, which I do support him on that, because there should be, you know, I would appreciate if Jerry Jones would say something, because silence can be deafening, not just him, all the other NFL owners. Just to get that little thing in so people know where, because I haven't said anything on my channel, but if you've seen me on Twitter, Facebook, I've been talking with people. I've been trying to spread as much information to support this thing, you know, because I feel like it's important to spread this information. And and that's what I love, is that he's able to say this, and I don't hear crap from Jerry, or I don't hear anything from people saying he can't do what he can't do. I just hate it when people get mad at outspoken players.
Yeah.
Like,
and this is for a root cause of something that's been going on for a long time, way before me and you were even born.
Yeah,
and it sucks that people have to die in order for change to happen.
Exactly, dude. And people might not know this, you know. If you know me in real, I'm Latino. I don't look it, but I know my pigmentation says otherwise. But when I do get some sun on me, I do end up getting a pigmentation. But dude, this is just something that's been. I've seen people say it in front of me, and people not knowing I'm Hispanic. I've heard some crazy things said about Hispanic people. I've said some crazy things heard about African Americans, Native Americans, etc. It's disgusting what happens in this country.
It's very disgusting. It's very disgusting.
I still don't understand why it still happens to this day. I just hope we can come together and realize, like, this is a serious problem. We need to address it. And people ask me all the time, like, my opinions on it because of my degree and, like, this, that. I tell people all the time, man, like, I'm not a guy that believes if you're not not to get like this, but if the police are continuously doing what they're doing, I don't believe that we should. I can't justify saying, well, we should come. Like, have you seen what they've been doing to people?
Yeah. They're
It's
pushing
disgusting.
85-year-old men down, and pepper spraying kids, and, you know, throwing pepper balls at pregnant women. And, you know, I pepper balled somebody. I was a correctional officer, and when they fight and they riot, you just can't go run in the middle of them and break them up. But for their safety, you got to figure out a way to break them up. You have to go to the top ceiling of the prison. You have to shoot these pepper, and it's like a paintball gun on steroids. And, you know, we're trained not to shoot at them.
You're shooting at the ground, right? And then it bounces up and hits them.
And it bounces up and hits them. But that velocity, it's like those little bouncy balls for toys. You bounce. Because that's the same velocity that it gets when it hits that ground. It hurts even worse coming right back up.
Yeah, and I mean, look, at the end of the day, like, it's a mentality with the country. Like, if we can't move forward, and people think like, dude, you're seeing this with the people in power too. And if you know me personally, I don't like either side. But I mean, I can only say the people in power speak a lot of damn words, and I can't. You know, it's the people that got to go out and vote. That's why I say, if you have the ability to go out and vote, go and vote. There are a couple other questions. I just want to make sure we're not. So D Lunatic asks, what's our identity, passing team or running team? I would say passing at this point.
I gotta disagree. I gotta disagree. You invest in the offensive line, right? Yeah, you invested in wide receivers. You gave Amari Cooper that deal. You just drafted CeeDee Lamb. But I want to say that it's more running, because Dak's strength is off of what? Play action.
Yeah.
And so you got to be able to set that running game up, and that will open a lot more things up for that magnificent wide receiver crew that we got.
And I will say this. I mean, you look at the Kansas City Chiefs, they've done play action a ton of times, and they pass the ball to start off a game. I mean, you don't have to run the ball first to do play action. I could say that for a matter of fact. And again, I don't know. I don't know what Mike McCarthy wants to do. For all I know, I'm wrong. And maybe they still want to do the run the ball thing, and maybe they do what – I don't know. But I just feel like right now, based off of McCarthy's thing, I think right now the passing game is your strength. But I could be wrong. I don't know. And then Joe Sandberg asks, why do people act like draft capital isn't important or draft is a crapshoot? Well, the draft is a crapshoot, number one, but more importantly, people think that draft capital is something that is expendable. No, it's not. No, it's not. Draft capital is extremely important. For all you know, like giving up a first round pick, like what's a good example? The Khalil Mack situation, right? Like the Khalil Mack, yeah, sure, it worked year one. Year two, what? The Bears did not make the playoffs. They looked horrible, and they gave up a top. I think it was the 13th pick they gave up. I could be wrong.
They gave up a lot of capital.
They gave up like the 13th pick or the 18th pick. I don't remember, but that's a pretty damn high pick. When people even when we traded for Amari Cooper, in hindsight it worked, but at the time you're giving up a top 10 pick, but it turned into the 27th overall pick, which I can't complain because it works out sometimes. And then someone asks, what do I trust more, Tyron Smith's back or LVE's neck? At this point, I don't know. I mean,
I was going to say I don't know either.
Because the problem is LVE, what does he do? He leads with the crown of his helmet every time he's trying to do a tackle. So the neck thing's an issue. And he's a huge part of our defense. If you remember, we were 6-4 when he went out, and we ended up going 8-8. I think if he's healthy, the defense does. Because people talk about how bad Jalen is. Jalen and LVE need each other. They need each other. They play really well off of one another. They have two different skill sets that you need. And unfortunately, when you remove one or the other, I think that LVE would be more important because of his coverage ability. That's just me. Mm-hmm. But with Tyron's up there in age, dude. And the reason why I can probably trust Tyron a bit more. Well, Tyron, I know what's going to happen. He's going to get hurt at some point. But we can eject him if we really want to. With LVE, it worries me more, I'll say. Because that's what he's doing. Leading with the crown of his helmet. So.
Yeah. Well, I think that's it, Space. I appreciate your time. I appreciate you coming on. This was definitely catching up. You did plug your stuff, but if you want to do it again, go ahead and do it again.
I guess I'll do it again in case you missed it. You can follow me on SpaceCowboy17 on YouTube. I'll leave a comment down below once this processes as a video. You can follow me on Twitter at SpaceCowboy17, Space_Cowboy_17. And you could follow on Facebook my other podcast, the Two Birds and a Third podcast. We got some really good stuff. Every Wednesday we usually do something, but again, sports aren't here, so we can't do much. But once again, Mike, thank you so much for having me on.
Hey, it's been a pleasure, guys. Make sure you follow Space Cowboy and all his knowledge and wisdom. He does go live. He does post a lot more videos than I do. Mm-hmm. So if you're looking for something Dallas Cowboy, Space Cowboy, it will entertain you. But right now I'm working on my next guest to be Tyson, the West Coast Cowboy, a big Facebooker when it comes to Dallas Cowboys. I'm working on getting him on maybe this week, maybe in our next week. But this has been Let's Catch Up, episode 2 with Space Cowboy. You guys have a wonderful day. Stay safe and healthy, guys. Appreciate you. Peace.